Hello and I welcome you all to Global News Factory. I am your host, Vikrant. NATO is having a week. Sirens in Poland, sirens in Romania, and now Estonia jumps in with Russian jets violated our airspace. You can almost hear Brussels hyperventilating, panic mode activated, and when NATO panics, it does not fix problems, it writes press releases and invents fancy mission names. Here is the scene, simple and straight. Estonia says three Russian fighters slipped in near Vindaloo Island in the Gulf of Finland and hung around for about 12 minutes. Italian F 35s scrambled under the Baltic air policing flag and nudged the Russians away. Now, that is Estonia's version. And we also have Russia's version. A routine flight from Karelia stayed over neutral waters 3 kilometers off Vindaloo, no violation. Same sky, two movies. You choose yours based on which side are you on. Now it is some common sense time. Of course, Moscow downplays, of course, NATO over dramatizes. That is the game. The truth is likely boring. Maybe the Russian jets clipped the line for a minute. Maybe the transponders were off. Maybe the F 35s did a polite escort and nothing more. Estonia insists there were no flight plans, no communication, transponders dark. Fine, that is unfriendly. It is also very normal in an ugly neighborhood where everyone flies with a poker face. 12 minutes? Sounds dramatic on TV. In real airtime, that is just a couple of turns. Then the politics kicked in. Trump called it big trouble.
Sir, Russian jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general?
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens. It could be big trouble. But I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
Macron found his fiery mood and condemned it like he was auditioning for a war documentary. Russia has admitted its jets were flying 3 kilometers near the Estonian airspace. That is very close, and in my opinion, that should be directly viewed as a warning shot in response to NATO's no-fly zone drama in Ukraine. NATO's CEO with the megaphone, Mark Rutte, earlier announced Operation Eastern Guard, equipment to the borders with Belarus, Russia and Ukraine, more kits, more flags, more resolve, they say.
And today, General Kinkowicz and I are here to announce that NATO is launching Eastern Sentry to bolster our posture even further along our eastern flank. This military activity will commence in the coming days and will involve a range of assets from allies including Denmark, France, United Kingdom, Germany and others. In addition to more traditional military capabilities, this effort will also feature elements designed to address the particular challenges associated with the use of drones. Eastern Sentry will add flexibility and strength to our posture and make clear that as a defensive alliance, we are always ready to defend.
Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski then says, hey, we can extend the missions into Ukraine. He says, I'm quoting, we could do it with allies, we just need the decision. Then the sales pitch. He adds, protection from falling debris would be greater if we can combat drones beyond our territory. Zelensky jumps in on cue. He says, I'm quoting, now is the time to protect our European skies with multi-layered air defense. Translation, give us your umbrella and stand in the rain with us. Let's not kid ourselves. Russia hears no-fly zone and replies in plain Russian. Dmitry Medvedev says, no-fly zone means war. Closing skies over Ukraine equals NATO entering the war space. Direct war, not proxy, not hybrid, war. Do you doubt they mean it? You should not. And here is the killer line that Western media tries to bury under adjectives. A major American paper has already admitted what any sober air planner knows. NATO does not have the infrastructure or the know how right now to run a true no fly zone over a battle space plagued with cheap drones, cruise missiles, and layered Russian air defenses. It is not Kosovo, it is not drive to the border and push the button. You would need dense sensors, quick reaction shooters, persistent patrols, endless missiles, endless cash, and nerves of steel. Miss one wave of drones and you don't just fail, you get laughed at on every screen from Taiwan to Texas. And those cheap drones would be soaking up your $1 million missiles. That is not air defense, that is setting fire to your budget. Also, a no fly zone is not a magic phrase, it is military promise. We will fight anyone who breaks this invisible wall. You say these words and you must be ready to shoot. If you shoot, you are at war. If you don't shoot, your commitment dies in public. Pick your poison, NATO, humiliation or escalation. Great options, both terrible. And even if they somehow clutch together a mini no fly zone inside Ukraine, guess what the Estonia episode is all about? The flank remains soft, drones still buzz borders, jets still test lines. You can guard a square over Lviv. You cannot cover the whole theater. The more you militarize the sky, the more you own every accident in it. That is not safety, that is a liability with a logo. Look at Estonia's own profile. It hosts UK-led forward land forces in Tapa. It hosts NATO's Baltic air policing at Amari base. It promises at least 0.25% of GDP annually for Ukraine, and it spends almost 5% of GDP on defense.
We need more capabilities and larger forces at high readiness. That requires sustained investment, which is why we agreed that all allies will invest 5% of GDP in defense by 2035. Estonia is leading the way. You are already close to this benchmark and plan to grow even further in the coming years. And these significant increases in defense spending strengthen our deterrence and defense and demonstrate your unwavering commitment to our alliance.
That is heavy commitment for a tiny state sitting inches from a nuclear power. You think Moscow does not notice? You think Moscow would not calibrate pressure? Of course it will. Calm taps on the boundary, careful radar games, darts thrown just outside the line. Enough to raise pulses, not enough to trigger Article 5. That is how you stress an alliance, not with fireworks, with rhythms. So when NATO floats the no-fly fantasy, they are doing two silly things at once. One, they are inviting a direct clash they cannot afford and cannot control. Two, they are pretending the problem is where drones are shot down and not why the war keeps expanding. The cause is not geography, the cause is policy. Flooding a proxy with weapons while denying any political off-ramp and then acting shocked when the war knocks on your own window. Estonia's episode is a mirror. It tells NATO the truth it does not want to read. You can stack Patriots and F-35s and still be exposed, either here or there. You can press conference your way through a week, but missiles don't listen to microphones. You want less drama at your borders, then stop pouring gasoline on the fire and calling it a rescue. NATO is suffering a real nervous breakdown. It is what you get when your strategy is all optics and zero outcomes. The alliance is trying to sell Eastern Guard while their nerves fray. It is trying to sell multi-layered air defense while struggling to afford single-layer missile stocks. It is trying to sell values while inventing legal fictions to let members shoot across borders without calling it war. That is a panic attack with branding. Meanwhile, Russia plays a slower game. It denies what it can, admits what it wants, and draws one red line so thick even the most excited EU warmongers can see it in the dark. If NATO wants fewer drones over Poland and fewer radar spikes over Vindaloo, The path is boring and real. Close the off-ramp gap. Stop dangling fantasies. Tell Kiev the hard truth about limits. Build quiet channels, not loud missions. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for being with me. You're watching GNF.